The stone tablet strategy for when someone rewrites history. Picture this. You're in ancient Mesopotamia. Your neighbor Grok keeps insisting he never borrowed your goat, even though half the village saw him take Fluffy. What would you do? You grab a chisel, you carve it in stone. Grok owes me one goat, signed, witnessed, dated. Boom, permanent receipt. Today we call this documenting everything, because apparently some people from the office still think they can rewrite history about that meeting. Some things never change. People have been selective about their memory since day one. The ancients just made it harder to deny by literally carving it in rock. You can't really argue with granite, can you? The village circle method, for drama queens who love an audience. Ancient communities have had this brutal but effective approach. If someone kept stirring up trouble by involving everyone else in their personal beef, they'd make them sit in the middle of the village circle, alone, while everyone just watched. No taking sides, no secret alliances, just uncomfortable silence. Today we'd call this refusing to be triangulated. But back then, it was more like, sit there and think about what you've done while we all stare at you. Public shame was their version of boundaries. And honestly, pretty effective when someone keeps trying to turn every conversation into a group project. Sometimes the fear of looking ridiculous in front of everyone is stronger than the need to be right. The sacred silence ritual for emotional blackmailers. When someone in the tribe would storm off and refuse to talk until everyone begged them to come back, ancient communities had a simple response. They'd just continue with their day. No chasing. No pleading, just business as usual. Oh, you're punishing us with silence. Cool, we'll be over here making dinner. Because they understood something we forgot. Silence is only powerful if people are desperate to break it. If you just shrug and carry on, suddenly, their dramatic exit becomes way less dramatic. More like a really awkward pause that nobody notices. Ancient people, accidentally inventing, I don't chase the energy that's running away from you. Thousands of years before Instagram quotes. The seasonal offering system, for people who love bomb and vanish. Back in the day, if someone showed up with extravagant gifts and grand promises, communities were suspicious, because real relationships were built slowly. Over seasons, through actions, not just words. They had this concept. If someone gives too much, too fast, they probably want something big in return. Or they're trying to skip the part where you actually get to know them. Modern translation. If they're talking about forever on date 2, they're not in love. They're in performance mode. Ancient people understood that genuine connection takes time to grow, like crops. You can't rush trust any more than you can rush a harvest. Plants that grow too fast usually have weak roots. The equal exchange rule, for guilt trippers. Ancient societies operated on reciprocity. But here's the thing, they kept track. Not in a petty way, in a practical way. If someone kept demanding help while never offering any, the community noticed, and they'd stop responding to their emergencies. Because they understood that guilt only works on people who feel responsible for problems they didn't create. Today we call it not setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. But ancient communities just called it common sense. They knew the difference between someone genuinely needing help and someone using crisis as a manipulation tool. Real emergencies don't happen every Tuesday at 3 p.m. when you're finally having a good day. The Council of Elders approach, for rescuer complex. When someone kept creating problems just so they could solve them and look heroic, ancient communities had elders who had seen it all before. These wise folks would point out the pattern. Funny how problems always seem to follow you around, isn't it? They understood that some people are only happy when others are struggling, because struggle gives them purpose. Modern version. That friend who always has drama, but somehow the drama always makes them the hero of their own story. Ancient communities would quietly stop feeding into it. They let natural consequences do their job instead of constantly rescuing people from their own chaos. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is to let someone face their own mess. the walking away wisdom for emotional crumb dealers. Ancient nomadic tribes had this beautiful approach to people who couldn't commit. They just keep walking. Literally. No waiting around for someone to figure it out if they wanted to be part of the journey. If you're not moving in the same direction, we'll see you when we see you. Today we get stuck waiting for text messages and wondering if someone's really interested. Ancient people solved this by having actual places to be. They understood that attention comes naturally when someone values your presence. If they're making you work for scraps of interest, they've already told you everything you need to know. Your ancestors didn't have time for people who couldn't decide if they liked them. Neither should you. The mirror back method for reality flippers. When someone tried to flip a situation and make themselves the victim of their own behavior, ancient communities had a simple response. They'd reflect the behavior back exactly as it was. No emotion, no argument, just facts. You took the grain. We all saw it. That's what happened. No drama, no counterattack, just reality served straight up. Modern people call this not taking the bait. Ancient people called it refusing to live in someone else's made-up story. They understood that some people will try to rewrite history to make themselves look better. The solution isn't to argue with their vision. It's to calmly state what actually happened and move on. Truth doesn't need defending. It just needs stating. The beautiful realization. Here's the thing about ancient wisdom. It wasn't actually ancient when they used it. It was just Tuesday. These weren't profound philosophical insights. They were basic survival skills for dealing with the same difficult personalities that exist today. The only difference? Ancient people didn't have the luxury of overthinking it. They couldn't spend 3 hours analyzing messages or wondering if someone's behavior meant something deeper. They had crops to tend to and winters to survive. So they developed simple, practical responses to complicated emotional games. And maybe that's the most ancient hack of all, treating emotional manipulation like bad weather. You can't control it, you can't change it, you can only decide how much of your day you're willing to let it ruin. Your ancestors didn't have time for emotional archaeology. Neither should you. The ancient call to action. So here's the deal. If this helped you decode some of the nonsense you've been dealing with, do what ancient people would do. Tell the tribe. Hit that like button like you're carving your approval in stone. Subscribe like you're joining a nomadic group that actually knows where it's going. Because ancient wisdom works best when it's shared. Your ancestors passed down survival knowledge around campfires. We do it with notification bells. Same energy, different century, way better snacks.